Just at the lottery on Tuesday, so we've done the lottery, and the letters will be going home, and you guys will be all fired out soon. I don't know, I'll just know numbers.
So is that what they had the principals from each school kind of roll in one by one, and you guys get your kids sorted out?
It's a pretty, intense, serious whole thing, because, it's federal regulations, it's federal guidelines. So the entire magnet department, is the CCSD attorneys, and the principals of each school, we all go to do this to make sure we're following the letter of the law, to make sure it's fair and equitable for all involved. This is early. All right, I was gonna try to maybe wait a few minutes to see if we get more families. We're a little light today, but I appreciate all of you that are here, and hopefully you guys did get some goodies back there. I think maybe I'll get a juice. I'm a little thirsty myself.
Most of the middle school programs are like magnet within a regular school, which I'm not sure how that's gonna.
They're all like that for middle school.
It's weird.
The magnet starts at 7 o'clock. The local kids will start at 8 o'clock, is what we were told.
Yeah, so they have period 0,
Yes.
and then they also have these extra after-school
Activities
and clubs.
So do you know, Ms. Brown, just like for your core class, like I'm taking English, do I have a mixture of magnet kiddos and non-magnet kiddos in my English if I have a magnet program?
Yes, you do.
But for my magnet classes, it's all magnet kiddos.
Correct.
That's how I thought it was,
And
but I
that's the
wasn't
period
sure.
0 that you have.
Okay.
What school?
All right, well,
do you have for
So the first,
So that,
first and second choice are tail.
No, this Just want to introduce our new assistant principal. Yay! This is Crystal Childress, and we are so glad she's here. Okay, so you guys all got an agenda and the handouts and things, so we'll just run right through that, and then, of course, if you guys have any other questions, concerns, of course, this is, our time together to chat. So Title I, we have, two major funding sources as a school, our Title I budget and then our regular budget. So our Title I budget for 16-17 school year has come at $68,000 and some odd dollars, honestly. And so, well, I have it here. Let me be more specific here. It is exactly $68,340. And so what we do when we get our funding is we solicit, input from all of our stakeholders. So our staff, our leadership team, you all as parents. We work with our PTSO executive board as your representative as the parent group to get their input on what it is we wanted to see the funding kind of go toward. And it was like I told my teachers, like, guys, it's only $68,000, it's a decent amount of money, yes, but it's not gonna buy everything we think we want. So we have to be selective here and prioritize what it is we think we need. So what we have determined, based off of all of the input from the various stakeholders I shared, we are going to purchase 2 CTTs. CTTs are certified temporary tutors. These are, this is the Miss Grimm, if you guys don't know who Miss Grimm is. She is a licensed teacher, but she's retired, and so she's a CTT now. And so we use her to help lower our class size when we do our intervention acceleration block. So our goal next year is to buy 2 of those. So we would have 2 additional teachers to use for intervention and acceleration block to lower the class size. We're just very excited about the data that is coming back with our kiddos and their reading ability with block. We just feel very strongly that block works. We are narrowing that achievement gap, and we feel with 1 extra body we could do an even better job. So that was one priority for us as a school. The other amount of money we're spending is on what's called licensed extra duty collaboration. So at the beginning of the year, our kindergarten teachers come in early to assess all the incoming kindergartners so we can make sure that our classes are balanced appropriately. So we'd like to pay the kindergarten teachers for coming in early to do that. So we put money in our budget for that. We also, April Bond is our Title I liaison, so it's her job to manage all of these things and all of the paperwork related to it. So she gets a little stipend, so that's in here as well. And then we're also going to do licensed extra duty tutoring. So last year, we had money in from whatever fund, and I can't even remember now, to do an SBAC boot camp. So our third, fourth, and fifth grade kiddos came in on a couple Saturdays, and the teachers really worked intensively with them to prepare them for SBAC. We did not have that funding this year, so we didn't do it. But we found it valuable, so we put it back in for next year. So we will have an SBAC boot camp for next year. The other major expense, the majority of the money in the entire Title I budget, $23,000, went to upgrading the Room 8 lab. The Room 7 lab has the most updated computers, but the Room 8 lab, all of those computers are dying and the district is no longer supporting them, so as they break, too bad, so sad. So we recognize with every single testing that these children do now is on a computer, we have to have the most up-to-date computers, we have to keep those going. So we felt it was a priority to rework that entire lab. So we're purchasing 32 Mac Mini computers to update that lab. And then in our primary classrooms, the wand, which is this, looks just like a wand. It's a long little stick that the children can manipulate the things on the whiteboard. Because they're so little and short, they can't reach all the stuff. So we need the wand to help them, and some of our wands have died, so we're gonna replace those wands so they can reach, yeah, there we go. Can reach that. And then, the other was about $10,000 for licensed extra duty. We're gonna pay the entire staff to come in 2 days early. We've done that for the last probably 3 or 4 years because the way the district does it, teachers come in on a Wednesday before children come on Monday, but we just have so much work to do. We just cannot get everything done in that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and kids show up on Monday. So we pay the teachers to come back on that Monday to give us a full week before students come, so that we get prepared, we get planned, we, are really, really ready when our children show up on Monday morning. And so our teachers really value that time, and so do I, as a principal. So that is it. And then there's always a set aside of 1% of the budget for parent involvement. So all of these juices, coffee, water, things that you guys get at Principal's Roundtable comes out of our title budget. So of course that 1% is in there for next year as well. Okay? Questions, concerns, things that you thought we should have bought that we didn't.
Did the kids already do the SBAC testing?
No, it doesn't start till next week. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. That's next week, yeah. Anything else about title funds, title budget? Everybody feeling good about that? All right, good job. All right, I feel good about it. I do. I feel like we prioritized the things that we really needed to as a staff, and I feel like we heard input from all our stakeholders and we incorporated those things. I think you guys, PTSO, did say Google Classroom, modernize the newsroom, and implement more technology in each classroom, and we're doing all that. We are going to Google Classroom next year. We already have that in the works. And our magnet department is going to help us update the broadcast room. So things that you guys said, we're doing too. So just from different funding sources, not out of title, like I couldn't afford it at a title. But I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'll just, pick all my pots of money and figure out where things need to go. So, and I say all pots like I got a whole lot of pots. I don't have a whole lot of pots, but the few pots I have, right? I can kind of work it if I need to. So, okay, so that was Title I. The next thing on our agenda is the CCSD budget update, and this is not good news. So our district is looking at a $20 to $22 million shortfall because the various funding sources where we, the district, it is not just Clark County School District, it is Clark County, the city of all the cities, because we all get our funding sources from property taxes and sales tax. And both of those funding sources came in much, much lower than they have generally come in years past. And so because of the low property tax revenue, because of the low sales tax revenue, it means we're $22 million short as a Clark County School District. So, so what does that mean? So of course, that means for each individual school, the amount of money we get to run the school, to staff the school is less. And on top of that, at the same time, the teachers have been fighting for, and deservedly so, their right better contracts. And they received that this year. So teachers received a raise this year. And it's long overdue, and as I said, it is well deserved. But those two things happening at the same time in the same year mean we have less money. And so so I'm sharing that with you to say, good morning, to say things are going to be a little different next year as far as our staffing goes. It's my job, is to look at the amount of money we have and plug in my current staff, basically. That's what I did. I started off with plugging in everybody who's already here. So when I did that with the amount of money given, we were already in the hole. We didn't have any money for supplies. You couldn't buy a book. You couldn't buy a piece of paper. You couldn't buy a pencil. Nothing. We had no money. So, okay, wow, that didn't look right. So let's work this again. And so it basically, long story short, spent the entire spring break, not just me, all principals did, trying to figure out what's best for our kids. So my goal is always to try to protect the instruction. And so I have to protect the classroom instruction, because after all, we are a school. Our job is to educate. That's our first and foremost job. So we were able to do that. As far as all of our licensed classroom teachers, we're fine in that area. We're going to be able to keep all of those people, but our support staff, we are going to have to make some changes in our support staff. We won't be able to maintain as much support staff as we currently have. And that's unfortunate, but there's no other real option. There's no other real choice there. So, so that's kind of where we are. Of course, we looked at not purchasing a lot of things that we do. The agendas, for example. Every child that comes to the school gets an agenda that we pay for. We looked at, just the things that teachers need to teach. There's a lot of extras they get. I looked at eliminating all of those. But those don't cost. The total of that amount is not enough for us to still, to meet the need that we had. So the salaries is what are the biggest amount of money, and salaries are what has to be cut in order to meet the shortfall. So that is why the decision has been made as far as some of those sports. It's the worst part of my job. I hate doing these kinds of things, but there's really no other option. There is no other option. And so I wanted to be upfront and transparent with you all about that. I've had all the conversations. I've had some conversations with some people that look back, but not all. I intend to do that, and then once I do, then I will put it out for the whole school community to know. So I wanted to share that with you. Any questions about that? Okay. All right.
Well, I have a question about the, I guess the income side. We talk a lot about the expense side. What is the school doing alternatively to bring in income? I know we've done fundraisers and different stuff, but is that something we have plans on? Go to local businesses or to, federal government's only gonna, you can only poke the rock so many times. But
truly, that's what we do. We do fundraisers. We had gotten to a place, or we were trying to get to a place where we as a school could eliminate fundraisers by just asking parents to just give us $30 per student. Honestly, if every parent gave me $30 per child, that is more than I've ever made in any fundraiser. Mm-hmm. The average fundraiser yields between $45,000 and $5,000 for us as a school. $30 per child would be about $12,000. So that's what we have been trying to move towards for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, but as it stands now, I think last year I asked Dale, I said, tell me how much we got in the $30 donations. $3,600. We don't, it doesn't yield, parents are just not doing it. Of course I can't mandate it, I can't demand it. I just think it would be, we started this years ago. We surveyed the parents, we asked you, would you prefer to continue with the traditional fundraisers? We send home the catalogs and the candy and the popcorn and the pizza and whatever it is. Or would you rather just give us money directly? And overwhelmingly, you guys said, give us money directly. We don't want to let that stuff work either. But while everybody said that, everybody has not acted on that. And so, so we, at the beginning of the year, we send out the letters, we remind parents, we do parent links, we put it on the website, we do all the ways we communicate generally. And we say, parents, we really, highly encourage you to give us the $30 donation. This is what it will do. It will allow us not to have to run any fundraisers. It will allow us to meet all of our financial obligations very easily, actually. But we've just not had a lot of luck with parents being consistently doing it. I mean, we have some families who do it without for, but then, we have others that just don't. So that's, one way. But the traditional fundraiser is still an option. Our PTSO does some, of course that goes, to them and their funds. We do one, but looking like for sure we're gonna have to do at least 2 next year because we got some we're looking at. To answer your question, yes, we are looking at alternative funding sources. And that's part of why we share this with you all as parents, so that, if you have ideas, ways that you think we might be able to fundraise or offset some of these deficits that we're facing, we certainly want to hear that. We certainly want to know what you're thinking and how you might be able to assist us in those areas.
I had this to begin, but you said it just because the state isn't giving you enough money, or?
Right, we didn't get, it was a deficit in the property taxes revenue that we get, as well as sales tax revenue.
And for support staff, you mean just the people who assist the teachers?
Correct. The aides, pretty much. The aides.
Yeah. So you will keep the agendas and things like that they get?
We're looking at that. We probably are going to, yes, provide it, but we're probably gonna go to a different vendor. And do a CCSD's graphics department does agendas. I've been going to the premier company. So we're looking at right now, seeing if we can get something comparable from CCSD, and we probably will do that. So we're gonna have to buckle down on a few things. I mean, teachers too. We're gonna have to have some serious conversations about how we use the existing things we have. You just gotta buckle down.
It may be beyond what they told you, but I kind of wonder how the state plans, do they tell the school district, okay, we're gonna be raising sales tax, or,
I haven't heard that. There was, our Pat Swerkowski, our superintendent, explained it to all of us at a principal's meeting, and he actually had to present it to the school board, and he's even attached the PowerPoint that he shared. And like I said, I told staff somewhere, I said it was above my pay grade. It was really a complicated formula. Supposedly I think we get 8% of property tax or sales tax or one of them, and this year we only got 0.25. That's a huge difference there. So why that was, I don't know. Again, I think it's if you go on the CCSD website, I think Pat has it up on something. I don't know exactly what. So I don't know why we're so short, and I don't know what they're going to do to rectify the shortness. I just have to figure out what I'm gonna do.
it just seems like such a problem, such a large scope.
It is.
That,
and we go through this. There's, this is not the first year we have traditional focus. We had it for a long shot. And then, somehow I think it was unfortunate for us as we in education, the people in schools, we get used to managing with less, and we do whatever it takes not for it to touch our kids. We'll do whatever it takes. And so people I don't think feel the difference really, because we as teachers do whatever it takes so it doesn't touch our kids. And so I don't think the outcry is there because people don't really feel it. Because we do everything we can so that you don't have to feel it, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes we kind of, that hurts us in the end, because people don't feel it, then there's not the outcry, and then we do it. So, but we're not gonna do it to your kids, so that's it. That's it. We're just not gonna do it. So, all right. So that's all I can share about the CCSD budget. Not good news, but you know, just so you're aware, you know, I've got the best staff ever, and as I said, they will do whatever it takes so it does not touch your kids. So feel good and know that your children are going to get the same superior education here that they've always had. They are. All right, SBAC.
Yay. Yeah, the testing starts for our 5th graders and our 3rd graders next week, next Tuesday. Hopefully your teachers will communicate what day your class is testing, because they don't test every day from now until May. We have our school testing in one way or fashion from next Tuesday till, I can tell you right now, May, it's like the 2nd week in May. May 13th. So we start with our 5th grade and our 3rd grade. They will test. There's 2 tests for each subject. So there's a reading, which is we kind of went over the different formats of the, if you were here last time, of the SBAC test, where they drag. Oh, yes, I do. You're right. I'm forgetting. Okay, sorry. Because we're recording this.
Yes.
From one of your guys' suggestions last time. So last time we talked about the different formats of the SBAC test, where some of them are multiple choice, like the traditional tests that we're familiar with, A, B, C, D. Some of them, they check multiple answers. So the question will ask, what are other possible responses? So there might be 2 or 3 choices a student has to check. Some of them are matching, where they are given, we saw one like a life cycle on the intros, and they had to decide, what would be in this organism's life cycle or energy cycle. And so they had to click all the things. So that's the first part of the test. And then there's a second part, which they call a performance test, which is they will read several formats, like it'll probably be 2 articles, it could be an article and a video clip, and then they have to type in a response. So it'll ask them something about the 2 sources, maybe comparing them, how are these different, which article would you use to support your opinion, and asking them to cite evidence. And then the same thing is true for math. They have one day where it's a typical kind of math test where same kind of format, still drag and drop, possibly matching multiple responses. And then a second day where they're given a real world math problem and asked to type, how would you solve this, what would you do? So just kind of knowing what day your kiddo is testing, definitely have them here on time. Breakfast is really important, so they're fueled and ready to do their best. And then having those conversations with them. We don't want to stress them. Our kiddos are unbelievably prepared. I can tell you, we took the interims to kind of get a feel for what this test was like, and I'm in there during the interims with every single class, and I cannot be prouder of the work that our kids are doing. So your kiddo has been getting prepared and ready to do it. I honestly believe we are more prepared than most schools. And I'm not saying that because I love it here. I really feel that we are. Our kiddos know how to answer those questions and cite evidence. And, in my opinion, I was floored with some of the responses. In my opinion, I feel that we should do this. And according to paragraph 2, sentence 3, it states, and I was floored. This is like a 3rd grader. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the work that they're doing, in their classroom getting prepared. So we don't want to stress them about it. Like, your test is today. But having those conversations with them, maybe do your best. I know you're smart. And, what I tell them when they come in is, these people don't know you like I know you. The people that are going to grade this, they don't know how wonderful and brilliant you are. So we have to show them how wonderful and brilliant you are. That's all it is. We have to just show them how perfect these kids are on this test. And they're going to do wonderful. So adults to get them ready is talking to them about it. So if they do have any anxiety, make sure that they don't. Because we don't want them walking in wound up about it. It's just a day, Ms. Washington always says, it's one day. We're going to show what we know. That's it. So we don't want them stressed about it. If, they are super ill and like, dying, we'll figure it out. Don't send them to school. Honestly, no, you have to test, you have to go. No, we'll figure that out. But if they're here and they're ready, please send them on time, with breakfast, and so that they can test with their classmates. Having that kind of camaraderie and that you guys can do it speech with their whole class, I think is important. They seem to like that. So a total of 4 days in our grades 3, 4, 5. As soon as we're done with that, we roll right into our K1-2 testing. So if you have a intermediate kid, they're done first, and then as soon as that's over, we do our acuity K1-2. If you were here for math night, they kind of went over that a little bit. All that is kind of an assessment to see where they're at with the standards, and so it'll kind of show the teachers what they still need to work on, and you as parents what maybe what your kid is struggling with or what they're doing well with in the K1-2. So as soon as we're done with SBAC, the other one will start. So again, just for them to do their best and not stress it. It's important, but it's not the end of the world. Yes, Ms. Brown.
Do we know if the SBAC is actually gonna work? Because my daughter's friend from another school, they were practicing the test, but when they went to the real test, it didn't work.
I can tell you from experience in the testing meetings that I have gone to, we are very lucky. The person that is in charge of the way that it's working, I've learned more about computers in this job than ever before. We have a local server here that stores all of our answers. And then at some point, that local server, it's a little box, sends that answer to like the cloud, which is the SBAC. Some schools have had trouble with their local server, and not because of SBAC, but because the computer that they have used to set it up wasn't set up correctly based on the specifications that CCSD has outlined. So CCSD gave those tech people kind of a step-by-step on how to make our server here at the school. If they follow those directions, which Mitchell Lynn, who is our tech guy that works here, he did, we've had no problems whatsoever. Some of the schools that have experienced problems, it's because of their local server at their site. I can tell you that we did 2 break the system days where we got 2 classes in, because we have 2 labs. We have room 7 and then room 8. We put 2 classes in there and all logged in as if we were going to take the SBAC to try to overload the system, so to speak. So we had them all log in at the same time and try to submit answers so that we were trying to kind of overload the system, and we couldn't. We did it on 2 separate occasions. And then we took the interims with no issue whatsoever. Again, having both kids in both labs. And I know that some schools have already started testing. Mitchell Lynn actually called me yesterday to let me know he was testing at his other school and with no issue. So will there be no issue? I can't. I said that last year and I was wrong. Although we've done everything in our power to ensure that when those babies walk in, that they're going to test. I mean, I don't know what more. I don't think there's anything more we could do on our end or CCSD could do on our end to get us prepared. We've had multiple trainings. We know how to troubleshoot as much as we can at this point. And there's a lot of support systems. If something does go wrong in that room, I have a lot of avenues that I can call people and say, this is wrong or this isn't working. So I feel that we're as prepared as we can be.
How many hours is this testing? Is it all, it's not the entire day, right?
Because we haven't started yet, I can't tell you personally how our kids are going to do. They have told me from the assessment department that it should take about an hour. Now, I can tell you from experience with our kiddos take longer. And it's not because they're slow, it's because our kiddos take this so seriously and do their absolute best. Without even having to instruct kids to, did you look over your answer? I'm watching them, going back to the very beginning of the test and going back like question by question, making sure that they've answered it correctly. And on the ones that they had to type, they go back to that question and they're reading it and making sure it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So our kiddos seem to, on the interim, take a little bit longer. But it is adaptive, and we kind of talked about that last time, where depending on how your child is doing in a standard, the questions could get harder or the questions could get easier depending on how the child is doing. So some students will have, I think the max number of questions is around like 23. So, and then they can have as few as 17. So 17 to 23 questions, taking about an hour. I think our kiddos will be okay with that. The interims that we did take were longer. They were like 30 some questions. So they took us a little bit longer. But they're estimating about an hour.
Out of the day. Secretary grade, it's starting, you said next week,
It is.
then it's like one day that week, and then
Check with your class,
Yeah.
because everybody's different, but,
it's gonna be sporadic testing
yes.
the next 2 weeks.
we try not to do it like back to back, so it's not like you're doing reading Monday and performance tasks Tuesday kind of thing, so, but we wanted to keep them close together because if it's anything like last year, some of what we read on day one was kind of applied when they had to do the day two, so we don't want too much time in between their 2 testing days while it's fresh in their mind. So, it's a delicate balance, we want it fresh in their mind, but we don't want to overload them. So, we're doing our best. And their specials, those of you that, know about what day they go to, PE, their specials is moved so that we can test all morning with no interruption. So if your child, like 4th and 5th, they have first prep, and that's when they go to music or PE, now that's been moved to the afternoon. So they get to test in the morning, kind of have lunch, and then, a special in the afternoon, kind of a brain break. I think it's gonna work out nicely, but it's not intense all day long. So that's how we adjusted the schedule for them. Any other questions? Hopefully, we have no issue and it goes off without a hitch. That's what we're believing. That's what we're believing.
Okay, what's next? Magnet school certification. So this is a new process, we're a magnet school, so that means we belong to the Magnet Schools of America organization. It's the national organization for magnet schools. They have traditionally, they do the awards, the award of School of Excellence or School of Distinction, which we've traditionally won. And by the way, we won School of Distinction again this year. There'll be 5 of us going to the Magnet Conference in May to get our award and be a part of that, so we're excited about that. But they have also now started something called Magnet School Certification. And so the Magnet organization has developed these 5 pillars of what excellent magnet schools should have and do and be. And so you apply for certification, and then once you are certified, it's a very distinguished honor that your school has, and it's good for 4 years. So this is a new process. I think April, who's our theme coordinator, she watched a webinar about it yesterday and met with me briefly about it, but we are going to kind of go for it. So to speak, so I just wanted to kind of share that, and, we'll keep you updated as to how that process is going. But, I was sharing with the staff this morning, I've been the principal of the school 11 years. I've been going to the Magnets conference every year in those 11 years, and they're always held in different states around the country. I have, and the part of the conference is you actually visit their schools, their magnet programs. You go into their schools, you see what they offer, which is the best part of the conference. But I can honestly say, no one does magnet schools like Clark County School District. Sometimes we're at the bottom of all the good lists or the top of all the bad lists. But when it comes to how we provide magnet education, nobody does it like Clark County School District. And I mean that. And I have seen it in various other states. I mean, things like, to me, I don't even know how you can call yourself magnet when, it's an elementary school, it's in a very affluent area, and they have one bus of kids and maybe 35 kids that they bring in from the inner city. And then because you're educating those 35 kids, you're called a magnet school.
It's like 1962.
Yeah, that's not a magnet.
Right.
A magnet school. You're not impressing me with your test scores. You're not doing that. We in Clark County School District truly bring all children from all backgrounds, all ethnicity groups, all everywhere, and we provide a good, solid education for our kids. So I just feel very strongly that is one thing CCSD has right, our magnet programs. We have that right. So yes, we're going for certification because I think we'll get it.
Absolutely. Hello, that's it.
I'm just saying. Okay. Our Read by 3 initiative, strategies that can be done at home.
It's the yellow piece of paper that you guys picked up on your way. I should say. Yep. It's also located on our website under parent resources. Our team coordinator put it on there last night. It's similar to what, I think it's the exact same thing you guys, if you received a letter at the beginning of the year telling you where your child was in the reading block. So it's just a kind of another reminder of, especially now for 3, 4, 5, the reading block is over because we're focused on SBAC, obviously, so we can't do both. So this is good for you as parents, so you can kind of pick up where the reading block left off, wherever your child left off in the reading block, whether it's intermediate or primary. Primary goes on a little bit longer, so if you have one first grader or second grader, they're still in reading block right now. So when their reading block is over, it kind of gives you some ideas of how you can continue their reading, especially as we look forward to summer. We don't want that lag of summer, especially in our primary grades. And intermediate, we don't want them to lose, if they have that motivation and they're finally really getting it and loving reading, we definitely don't want that to get lost throughout the summer. So just some strategies and mostly websites and resources that you can pull up from home and use to kind of continue what we've laid the foundation here so that you guys are kind of following that up. So it is on the website, so you'll see some of the links, they'll be clickable from the website, but I wanted to give you a paper copy today as well.
Right, just reminding you, I think the last time we were together, we talked about the Read by 3, the new law, and what that means. So again, it's really critical that we do everything we can in kinder first and second to make sure kiddos are on grade level as they should be, so that we don't have that threat of retention. I don't believe, we're going to do our best that we don't have to do that.
Right.
All right, so our school counselor is here, Dr. Lee is here because I asked her, another, law that was passed in this last legislative session was the anti-bullying law. And part of that, of course, the important part of it is education, and so what Dr. Lee has been doing with our students all year long is she's been going into each classroom and doing 2 anti-bullying lessons, kind of defining it, making sure children understand what bullying is and what it isn't. It's become a word that we apply to everything. And unfortunately, and that's not a good thing because it diminishes when it is, and then it elevates things that are not, you know what I mean? And so we have to do a better job in educating. And that's what I sat down with Dr. Lee at the beginning of the year. I said, I want our children to know what it is and what it isn't. And when it is, call it, say it is, yeah, let's do something about it. But when it's not, let's give them strategies, that leaders should have to identify it and do something else. And that's what Dr. Lee's been doing. And so she's going to stand over here so she's on camera. And she's going to tilt the camera.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. So
I got you and the board.
Yeah.
Good morning. So I pretty much know all of you, at least by face. I'm Dr. Lee, I'm the guidance counselor, and as Ms. Washington said, she gave me the directive earlier this year to make sure that I educate the students on what bullying is and is not. And we have done that magnificently. It wasn't just me. These kids, they latched onto it. They get it. Your kiddos are so smart. So when we would have an incident, they would use the terminology that I taught. And it was the most rewarding thing ever. They would say, well, it's happened over this amount of time, and it's happened this many times, and this is what it is. And so they know what bullying is and is not. Where I lacked, though, was making sure that I got into one of these earlier to let you guys know that this is what I was going to be doing with your students. And also just to give you a little information on what our bullying policy is. So the Clark County anti-bullying policy is policy number 5137. I printed it out and made a little booklet for you all. So we'll just go over that real quick. It's not going to take long. The Clark County School District is committed to ensuring a safe and respectful learning environment for all students. What that means is that your students, when they're on their way to school, they should already feel like they're coming to a safe place. Not just when they get to the building, but knowing that Joe Mackey is a safe environment for them to be in. That they're not going to be harmed or bullied or hurt in any way, shape, or form. And a respectful environment. We have to learn how to treat one another. And that is what we learn in our guidance lessons. We learn those throughout the entire year. All of my guidance lessons are connected to our lifelong guidelines as well as our 7 habits for happy students, however, you know. So that's that. Joe Mackey is definitely a bully-free zone. We do not tolerate bullying at all. It immediately. There is a time frame, but we supersede that time frame every time. So the definition, and you can follow along in here if you want, but if not, this is just fine. So it's written or verbal, electronic expressions or physical acts or gestures or any combination thereof that are directed at a person or a group of persons or a single severe and willful act or expression that is directed at a person or group of persons. What does that mean? That's a lot of words, right? But this is how it's worded in the policy. So when a parent reads this, they're thinking, what exactly is bullying? And if a kid were to read this, they would say, I have no idea, but I feel bad, right? So it's anything that a person does or says to have control over another person, period. And so some students don't know that that's what they're doing, but some students do, which is why it's important to educate them all on why it's important to not bully. So that could be anything from calling names on a consistent basis. Yeah, well, you know, it's just being a kid. It's not just being a kid when it's hurting another kid. It's not fun if it was being done to you. And so these are the type of things that we're teaching them. Compassion, treat others the way you want to be treated, be respectful, things of that nature. So it's anything, quite honestly, but there is a pattern that has to follow that makes it bullying. So a one-time incident of something is not necessarily bullying. A severe incident, even if it's just one time, can be considered bullying. And so we make it a point to let the kids know, if you are not sure if it's bullying, don't use the B word, because that starts a whole big process. But definitely share with us what's going on so that we can make sure that the situation does not turn into bullying. Because some kids, what has happened is they think that they're handling it. They think that they're okay, and it'll keep happening. And then 3 months up the road, they'll come in broken. And they're like, well, I didn't know it was bullying. And so I didn't say anything because I told my mom or my dad, and they said, oh, it's kids being kids, just ignore it. You can't ignore bullying. Bullying doesn't go away by ignoring it. And so your students have been educated on that. Next, we have bullying and cyberbullying directive. No member of the Board of Trustees. So believe it or not, this anti-bullying policy starts at the very top. At the very top. So even the employees and the board of directors are under this policy. So no members of the Board of Trustees, the employee of CCSD, member of any club or organization affiliated with CCSD, or any student shall tolerate or engage in any bullying activities or behavior. What does that mean? If someone wants to use our facility for an event, there cannot be any bullying activities going on here. If the PTSO wants to do a fundraiser and they have a bunch of kids in here and something is going on, they're responsible for making sure that there is no bullying activity going on. They are very serious about this policy. As you know, over the last few years, there have been incidents of students committing suicide because they had been bullied and no one did anything about it. Cyberbullying was probably, up until about last year, the hardest thing to prosecute or to even get any help on, because they weren't being touched, right? They weren't being taunted in person. But we now know that most of our communication is done online. You know, kids don't talk to each other like we do. They use technology. And they use it not just to be friends, but to be enemies, and they do it very well. And so we have to teach them that words hurt. The tone of voice that you use can hurt. It can all be considered bullying. The next policy, the next bullet in the policy is reporting the bullying and cyberbullying. So students can report to a teacher, a counselor, an administrator, or go to the Say No to Bullying website, which is there. I don't even believe that that is typed in your that's in the bulletin. However, you do have a few blank pages back there. So if you have something to write with, you can write that down, or I'll stick around and give it to you.
There's a link in the Joe Mackey website, isn't there?
As well as on the CCSD website. You
Yes.
go to the CCSD website, it's right there.
It pops right up, absolutely.
So kids
So-
can report that way.
Yes, so parents can report as well to the exact same people and go to the website and make the report. So, the report, once the report is made, the investigation has to happen. So, the report is officially taken by an administrator or a designee. Our administrator is Mrs. Washington or Mrs. Childress. And if they're not available, then I take the report and immediately we put it in. However, we do have up to 48 hours to activate the report. So, but usually it's within an hour because there's no reason to wait. The only caveat to that is if it comes in after school hours. So just know that if you decide to make a report online and it's after school hours, it won't be activated or addressed until the following school day. But typically, if it happens anytime between Sunday night and Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, it's taken care of within the hour. Investigation has started, which means we interview the students that are involved. We contact the parents via telephone is the first choice. And if we can't get in touch with you by telephone, we'll use electronic devices, no matter how. We can text, we can email, however it happens. We'll catch you after school when you're picking them up from safety. Whatever we have to do to make sure that this has been addressed on the day that it happens. Are there any questions so far? Discipline. So when bullying happens, when we determine that it is a bullying incident, because most of the time they don't say it's bullying, they'll come in because they've learned, that everything is not bullying. But if it feels bad, it probably is. And if it's happened consistently over a period of time, it probably is, and we need to address it. So they'll come in and say such and such did this or such and such did that, and we'll be like, okay, that's bullying behavior and we need to take care of it. And so Ms. Washington will, at her discretion, issue the discipline. It can be anything from a harsh talking to, right, a reprimand, or it could be RPC, it could be detention, however severe it is or not severe it is or minor it is, either way, it has to be addressed. And so, but you will know as a parent because you will be contacted. And then 10 days later, there's a follow-up. There's an interview with the students who were involved and letting the parents know that this has been taken care of, that it's closed, and that prayerfully this will not continue or happen again. And so that's how the discipline is handled. Any questions? So that is pretty much the parent information. It's not complicated. It's just worded so much that it's confusing if you were to read this on your own, which is why we decided to just come in and give you a quick overview of what it is that this is really saying. So we take care of it. We make sure that your children are safe when they're here. And if for some reason they don't feel safe, we address it immediately. It doesn't even have to be bullying. Whatever it is, we make sure that your children are safe and secure when they're here. That is our job and that is our passion, and we love your kiddos too. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at any time. Yes.
I have a question about the bus. So I have a two-part thing. So the bus is shared with the different schools, and the good news is my kids tell me that the Joe Mackey kids kind of stand out from the other kids. Like they're so much better behaved. Hello. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on with the other kids, but anyway. So I hear about particular children on the bus that are, shockingly mean, and the bus driver does nothing about it. And so I guess the bus drivers, I don't know if they feel they're not paid enough to deal with this, or what the situation is. I mean,
Well-
like, it's like, I wrote the bus driver a letter. There's one kid in particular that goes to a different school that's like physically, grabbing and hurting people, calling people with horrible names on a regular basis, and like, the kids just tolerate. I mean, I'm like, they don't go to this, he doesn't go to this school, so, I mean, can't we just kind of like telling you guys about it? So I'm kind of like.
So you said you wrote the letter
To the bus driver.
and what he said?
He said I guess the kid got one citation, and if he got 3, then he'd be picked off. But he's still riding the bus every day, so I know he doesn't get picked off. And I've had like other parents that at the bus stop that have had issues with this kid, hurting their kid. The other mom tried to talk to the mom about it. Was like, your son has done this and done that. She's like, well, he's my stepson, I can't do anything about it. It's like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, that can be frustrating, it really can. But generally, and it's a weird kind of a situation because like you said, it's not our kid, and I don't know what school it is, but generally, because we do have 3 schools on the same buses, we 3 principals work very, very closely with each other. So if, as a matter of fact, there was a bus incident yesterday, that Ms. Childers dealt with, but it came from Mabel Holgard. One of her students was complaining about a little girl. And all he knew her name, but she didn't have on a uniform. That's us. So sure enough, it was one of our little kiddos. And yet she was inappropriate. And, so we had to discipline her and give her consequences. So it's, the buses are, that part of it is a little funky, I guess, for lack of a better term.
And it's a long bus ride.
It is. It's a long bus ride. And you're right. The 3 different schools and different expectations, I guess. I don't know really, what to say about why they behave the way that they do. I know that those principals also have high expectations for their kids as well.
Right.
But, I will say, as long as I've been doing discipline, in all of the least structured areas is where you're gonna find, and buses are the least structured area. So, for us, even we've done, analysis of where, even at Joe Mackey, where are our least structured areas? The bathrooms and the playground. That's where most of our things occur. So, and then, the bus, the bus is definitely the least structured area. I mean, the driver's gotta drive, so they can't see everything, and these kids know that. And so this is my time to do what I'm gonna do and act how I'm gonna act, and knowing that I can get away with it a lot of the time. So it is a challenge and it is frustrating, but we try to address ours, every time we know about it, for sure, we address it, and we do. There have been times when I have had to remove children from the bus. The bus ride is a privilege. So either you're going to ride it appropriately, so it's safe for everybody, or you're not. And if you do get police citations, I do remove you.
If I were you, I would find out what school the person goes to and have this principal talk to that principal, have the 2 principals talk and say this child's causing a problem for my child in the school. And the other principal or the other school can discipline that child or let the parents give them a formal warning.
It's hard. I mean, there has to be like a specific incident, I feel like, because like, if, like my 5th grader will tell me, oh, this kid does this all the time. Well, I'm like, well, that's very non-specific. I can't say, well, it has to be a specific incident. So the one that we had wrote about was the kid was trying to take Holly home and like wrenched her arm, against her will, and the baby tried to stand up for her and knock her glasses off. All this goes on the bus, and I'm like, so that's the incident I wrote a letter about. But Aiden's like, he calls people names like every day.
Well, if you find out what school, I guarantee you she already knows. I mean, it just sounds like.
Right.
It sounds.
I mean, maybe
Right, it sounds like they're aware of.
serious, like, behavioral issues that nobody knows about that they're trying to deal with. I don't know what the story is, but I don't know. It's just worrisome. If you put your kids on the bus and it's like 45 minutes of sink or swim, good luck.
Right.
Don't they have cameras in the buses? Isn't that something?
Some buses do. Some buses do, but not all. Not all. And I don't even know which ones. I mean, about 26 buses. I don't even know if any of ours are.
So, well, related to that, sort of related to that unstructured time, I'd seen lately a couple videos about schools that had put up something called a buddy bench.
I saw
Have
that
you
too.
heard about that?
I did.
What is that?
It's really cute. Go ahead.
So a lot of times kids that unstructured time, kids that are shy or they don't really know how to, get themselves involved in a game or whatever. And these kids at some schools have come up with the idea where they create a buddy bench, where it's just like a place on the playground where someone that's feeling lonely and they don't have anyone to play with, they can just go have a seat. And then the kids are told, hey, if you see someone sitting over there, you should go talk to them or invite them to play. And it works really
That's
well.
actually in one of our lessons. That's in one of our anti-bullying lessons.
Oh, isn't it
And
that
one of the
suggestion?
points of becoming an upstander as opposed to a bystander is being a buddy. And so they've been taught this probably in 6 different lessons, not just the anti-bullying lessons, but also in their social skills lessons.
Right.
Yes, to buddy up with people.
You see them. But having like a designated
Mhm.
physical
area.
place where people can connect.
That's right.
Because I guess at any given time you might see 10 or 12 kids kind of loaning around by themselves, not knowing what to do. But if you see some kid sitting over there, then it's like,
It's a
oh,
way of
They need
communicating, right, I need some help, or I need a friend, without having to verbally say, yes.
so I don't know, I was trying to put that out there. I don't know if it's PTSO or, I would love to see that on my.
So I have a question.
Go ahead. Because I was gonna say, next is what's on your mind. So, we're already there, we're already there.
My son is, he's very sensitive in one way, in the sense of he'll throw himself on the floor and cry and over nothing. I mean, like literally, his shoelace isn't tied correctly, and on the other end, with the bullying, with how he treats his sister, and it's like, how can I as a parent help teach my child better? Because I mean, from the one end of the sensitivity, I mean, I know he's gonna have his own personality, but a lot of it, I'm just kind of like, this can't be real, but for him it is. And Dr. Lee knows. I mean, she's assisted me several times in lunchroom, like.
I can speak for Mr. Robert. He is, he's not unlike other kids. He is very sensitive and he's very active, but he can be aggressive. And I think that the fact that he probably didn't go to preschool before now, right?
Right.
He's having to learn social skills. And so the fact that it was just him and his sister, he was able to do what he wanted to do and mom and dad would take care of it and that was fine. But now he's out having to deal with other kids and he can't treat them the way he treats his sister.
Right.
And so that's not necessarily fine. But if you notice, when I talk to him, he calms down immediately because when you're hyper with him, he gets hyper, right? So when I go and talk to him, I talk to him where he has to listen because he wants to hear what I'm saying, but if he's screaming, he can't, so then he'll start screaming. So that's the strategy that I use with him. Even on the playground, I probably shouldn't, but I don't let anybody else correct it. I do the correcting, Robert, over here with me. But I think that that's a good thing because it provides him structure, and even when he knows he's done something wrong, he'll look for me. He'll look for me. So he knows. He's just developing those skills. I don't think that there's anything deficient in that
Right.
respect.
I mean, it's like you said, that kind of aggression. I mean, I see it with his sister. I'm always like, hey, this is not right. This is not good behavior. This is not how we treat. Obviously, you treat your family, but then his friends, and that's the thing with the whole bullying thing. The behavior can be seen as a type of bullying. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's too strong of a word, but I mean, nobody wants to be.
Have you ever heard of the Parenting Project?
No.
Okay, I'll give you that information if you give me that office.
Okay, because I mean,
It is
young.
great for parents. I've been through it twice, only because I worked for CPS for so long and I wanted to know what I was referring my parents to. So I went to the different classes just to see how and you think you know what you're doing because you've done it, but they have all of these different strategies that they offer parents on dealing with children with behavior issues, serious emotional disturbances, mental health issues. It varies, and it is great. Most of them are 6 weeks long. You go once a week, but in that time, you learn all of these different strategies on how to deal with children with behavior issues, especially. And so I think that would be very beneficial in helping not just while he's here learning how to socialize, but outside of here.
Right.
So, I mean, this is probably the longest and biggest area where his social skills are going to develop. But when he's outside with you guys, say at the park or whatever, or even at home during times of unstructured, playing with his sister, he'll start to make better decisions on how to treat her.
Because that's my goal, is to be a better parent, but a lot of times I just am like, I don't have the tools, I just don't know.
Right.
And then it sounds like that class would definitely.
Love and Logic also has some classes, and I think that for parents, and I think that those they have Love and Logic for teachers, Love and Logic for parents, and I think that's also another tool of, different ways to communicate to kids and give them the structure that they need. I found that to be really helpful as a teacher and as a parent.
And that program is the foundation for the parenting project.
Okay.
The only place the only age level that does not use the Love and Logic is the 0 to 6 months. But come 7 months on up, they use the Love and Logic Foundation to teach the strategies for parents. So thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah.
So
Any other questions?
I only have one other kind of unrelated question to what we talked about. Recent events in Flint, Michigan with the water. Saw a news report that said only schools that have their own water system that's not connected to the main city water, it gets tested. Is that something? I mean, what are we doing here to protect our children? I mean, I ask because I don't know with the whole lead situation. Is that something that we focus on, or that we know about, or?
I don't know for a fact. I don't know that
That's our issue.
we have an issue with water. I mean, that nothing related to that has been brought to my attention about any issue with Las Vegas water that we have.
I think it's the older cities.
Yeah, at the top, there was an article in the Las Vegas Sun, it's a free newspaper, we read that once a week, you could probably access it online. They had a whole article on our water here. And they said our pipes are copper pipes. It's not as old, like I'm from Ohio, from Cleveland, the pipes there are very old.
Right.
But here, it's not, they said the water's not, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pipes are-
Because that to me is like, they in the news report, they specifically talked about the schools
Right.
and it being, a major thing. And so I just thought I would ask.
Yeah. No, it's a legitimate question. And like I said, I have not been told that we had a concern at all.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
And now that you're bringing it up, our fifth graders have completed their service project. They raised, I think, $300 worth of water. We're shipping that out to Flint to help those kids there, because our fifth graders were very, very passionate about the fact that water was so damaged. Poison, and the kids were still drinking that. They were hurt by that. And they wanted to do something about it. So I was so proud of them, so proud of them. So that is we're good with that. Any other things that we need to talk about?
I would just like to mention on behalf of the PTSO, I brought some extra flyers for the smoothie fundraiser. If anyone's interested in taking one, and the monies are due tomorrow.
Because to have some good old healthy smoothies.
It's just a new thing for the school. We're trying to give the kids new options.
So you're gonna repeat it in May?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Cool.
And
mine is already
and the
filled
thing
out,
tomorrow
just
at
put them on.
2:30
And I'll
is
make it.
Kinder, yes. Kinder's Kinder Academy, that's what we're calling it, and tomorrow at 2:30.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure.
And then we have here the upcoming events. So the smoothies that April 8th is our jump rope for heart. Our spring picture day, that's always a free dress day, so kiddos can, wear some pretty for spring. We do have a family literacy night coming up on the 14th. And that is our bedtime stories, is that what it's called? Where
Yes.
the kids come back to school in their jammies and teach them stories. It's fun. And then, of course, our robotics team is leaving on the 15th, going to the Netherlands. Yay. We're always excited about our robotics teams, absolutely, always excited. So that's kind of what's going on. We will do another roundtable in May, right? So that'll be our next one. So we definitely hope to see you. Guys, really, before you leave, please take some more breakfast bars, juices, whatever, coffee, please take that. The more you take, the less we gotta.
That's exactly what I just said to Dr. Lee.
The more you take, the less we gotta do. So thank you guys so much for coming.
If you didn't sign in on your way, the sign-in sheets
Oh, yeah.
right here, please sign in on your way out so we know how many of you guys were here.
Do you know about the spelling bee? Gracie said she wants to do this spelling bee.
The only thing I know about it is that the thing that's in the front office, but
Okay,
it
this
is,
is actually only for third, fourth grade teachers, so that's why I didn't send it out.
Yeah.
She says, so, native, it's in honor of the man who used to own the Native Son bookstore. It's over here on the west side